This is Ukraine's semi-official border zone, separating territory controlled by the government from areas under occupation by Russian-backed militants. In recent days, new crossing points have opened, easing the flow of traffic. Hours and days-long queues were previously not unknown. A ceasefire between Ukraine and the militants, which came into effect at the beginning of September, has largely been holding. That, no doubt, has fed into what Ukrainian border guards say is an increase in the amount of people daily crossing between the two sides. Natalia is among those who are crossing the checkpoint by foot. She works in Ukrainian territory. Every Sunday she leaves the occupied city of Donetsk, and every Friday evening she comes home to her husband and children. Like many returning to militant-held territory, she carries with her food and other essential items, which are much cheaper across the border. She tells us, "I'm taking back fruit, sugar, coffee, butter, cheese and cream. We only buy products from Ukraine. We don't eat the stuff the militants bring in." Natalia's husband arrives to drive her the rest of the way home. As they load the car, she describes the situation in Donetsk. She says there are less people now in uniform on the streets. There isn't shooting on the streets now. It's become calmer recently since the ceasefire came into effect. As night falls, Ukrainian soldiers come out to man the border post as the flow of cars slows to a trickle. It's now, say the servicemen, that attacks from militant-held territory can come. One soldier leads us to their bomb shelter. He says, "This is our main shelter. We use it in emergency situations as soon as shelling starts. We've used it 4 times, if I remember." In spite of the concerns of the servicemen, the night passes peacefully. There's no shelling at this post, but blasts are audible several kilometers away. The main task of these soldiers is to keep on the lookout for movement from the militant side of fighters or weaponry. In fact, tonight a car does approach, but it turns out not to be a threat. It's a man who has come to get first place in the line so he can cross the border as soon as it reopens to civilian traffic in the morning. Morning comes. At sunrise, a line of cars has already formed. The border post doesn't open for 2 more hours, but residents of Donetsk are already hoping to get across. This woman says, "I wanted to cross, not to stand here and freeze. I didn't know it only opens from 8. And finally, the traffic begins to move. But the going is slow. Each car crossing into Ukrainian territory is checked and double-checked. Meanwhile, news has spread in the occupied regions that a humanitarian convoy has arrived. Many cross the border on foot, specifically to pick up the products being handed out. A crowd gathers to see what's on offer. Items like salt, pasta, rice and long-life milk are all being distributed. They're basic staples which are now hard to come by in militant-occupied regions. The humanitarian aid workers try to make sure that no one goes back across the border empty-handed.